Pierce Brosnan became a global icon as James Bond, the suave, charismatic spy who oozed confidence. However, beneath the tuxedo and the smooth demeanor, there was a story few knew. It was the story of a boy abandoned before he could fully comprehend what abandonment meant. A boy whose father left before he could remember, and whose mother, though loving, was forced to leave him behind as she pursued a career in nursing. Raised by his grandparents and later shuffled between relatives, Pierce was no stranger to the feeling of being unwanted. This was the foundation of a man who would carry the weight of loneliness and loss, which would eventually shape the calm and stillness that defined his portrayal of Bond. The legend of Pierce Brosnan is not only about the man who became Bond, but about the boy who spent his life searching for a place to call home. The loneliness of a forgotten child. Pierce Brosnan's early life was marked by abandonment. Born in 1953 in County Meath, Ireland, his father left before he was old enough to form memories. His mother, May, was determined to make something of herself, and at the time it meant leaving her toddler behind in Ireland while she moved to London to pursue her nursing career. At the tender age of 1, Pierce was entrusted to his grandparents. Despite their kindness and warmth, the absence of his mother lingered, a painful void he could not comprehend. Pierce's childhood was one of constant transitions, moving between relatives who cared for him but never gave him the stability he needed. It left him with a question that he never voiced. Why didn't they stay? That unanswered question would shape his soul and make him determined to find somewhere he truly belonged. The void left by his parents. As Pierce grew older, the emotional toll of his early years weighed heavily on him. His life was defined by being passed from one home to the next. His grandparents, though loving, couldn't replace the feeling of being wanted by his parents. This pattern continued as Pierce moved from an aunt's home to a family friend's house. He wasn't mistreated, but there was a lingering sense of displacement. His story wasn't one of neglect or abuse, but it was the quiet hurt of being someone else's responsibility. School didn't offer the comfort of a stable home. He was the boy without a father, the boy whose mother was distant and living in another city. This isolation pushed him inward, making him a quiet, observant child who learned to escape into art. It wasn't passion yet, it was survival, a new beginning in London. When Pierce turned 10, his mother re-entered his life. She had remarried, built a new life, and decided it was time for Pierce to join her in London. But the city, while filled with promise, also represented everything Pierce had been missing. For the first time, he lived with a woman who was technically his mother, but felt more like a stranger. The bond that should have been natural was absent, and Pierce often felt like an outsider in his own home. In his later years, he would reflect on these moments, saying, "I was always the outsider," a statement that captured the essence of his life at the time. He had spent his formative years looking in, never fully participating, and that sense of disconnection would follow him into adulthood. The struggles of a displaced teenager. London in the late 1960s was a fast-moving city, indifferent to anyone who wasn't a part of its rhythm. Pierce arrived as a teenager, already feeling behind, socially and academically. He was emotionally scarred, unsure of where he belonged, and completely disconnected from the world around him. He enrolled at the Elliott School in Putney, South London, but the city felt alien to him. The teenagers of London were already immersed in their own lives, and Pierce, with his Irish accent and modest clothes, felt like an outsider. He wasn't part of the city's fashionable crowd, but London also gave him something that Navan never could: possibility, a chance to create a new identity. And for the first time, Pierce found something that made him feel alive: fire eating. It wasn't glamorous or artistic, but the attention he commanded as a street performer changed something within him. He had a voice. People noticed him. The early days of acting and struggles for recognition. Upon graduating in 1975, Pierce began working in theater, performing in challenging roles that paid little but demanded everything from him. The industry wasn't quick to reward patience, and Pierce spent years honing his craft without instant recognition. It wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary for his growth as an actor. Eventually, his dedication and perseverance paid off when he was cast in Remington Steele in 1982, a TV series that would change his life. Playing the charming, witty character of Remington Steele, Pierce displayed a natural charisma that captivated audiences. He moved through scenes with an ease that seemed unlearned. His portrayal was so convincing that it became impossible to separate him from the character. It was here that the whispers of James Bond began, but the door to the role would first be slammed shut. Love and loss, the woman who changed everything before. Pierce could claim the coveted role of James Bond. Love entered his life in the form of Cassandra Harris. They met in 1977, and Pierce felt an immediate connection. At the time, Cassandra was married to another man, but Pierce's feelings for her were undeniable. They became friends, and eventually their bond grew stronger. They married in 1980, and Pierce adopted her children from her previous marriage. For the first time, Pierce felt he had something he had never had: a family, a home, a place where he truly belonged. Cassandra gave him roots when his entire life had been defined by uprootedness. But in 1987, their life together was shattered when Cassandra was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Pierce was 34, and their son Sean had just been born. The future they had envisioned together was now clouded by a devastating diagnosis, sacrifice, and presence in the face of cancer. In the face of Cassandra's illness, Pierce made the difficult decision to step away from his career to care for her. He turned down opportunities, auditions, and the growing momentum of his acting career to be with her during her treatments. Pierce became the anchor for his family, fiercely devoted to ensuring that Cassandra was never alone during her battle with cancer. His commitment to her was evident in everything he did. He drove her to treatment, sat by her side during hours of pain, and quietly held his family together. Pierce's unwavering presence during those challenging times left an indelible mark on those who witnessed it. He later reflected on the experience, saying, "You learn very quickly what matters and what doesn't." Through this painful journey, he learned that true strength lies not in fame or success, but in being there for the people you love. The resilience that defined his career. Cassandra's battle with cancer and her eventual passing was one of the most painful experiences of Pierce Brosnan's life. But through this heartache, he found a new perspective on what truly mattered. Despite the immense personal loss, Pierce's strength and resilience became apparent. He was able to channel his grief into his work, bringing a depth of emotion to his performances that resonated with audiences. By the time he was offered the role of James Bond, he was no longer just the young, ambitious actor from a small Irish town. He was a man who had faced immense personal hardship, who had loved and lost deeply, and who had learned to carry that pain with grace. His portrayal of James Bond would reflect not only the character's toughness, but also the quiet strength that Pierce had cultivated throughout his life.